But tonight, it looks like the Remainers are a dying breed in Parliament, doesn't it? It looks like those people who were trying to push back Brexit or people who were pushing for a second referendum are now the quietest voices in the House.
Let's look at what we've got here. We've got a majority of 51.4% or so in favour of Theresa May going back to the EU and asking to remove the backstop. That's not going to happen, which leaves us in the position we were yesterday of having a deal that the Parliament doesn't want. Now, if we have a choice between a deal, as Theresa May said, it's this deal, it's no deal, or it's no Brexit. That deal, everybody hates because the 52% who voted for more control hate that deal because it means having less control. It means giving up our dominant position and setting the rules of the EU in favour of being bound by those rules but having no say. Or no, it's the 48% as well. Now, no deal is not what people voted for because in 2016, every single Brexit campaigner said we would get a better deal with the EU. In fact, the entire narrative of they need us more than we need them is predicated on the idea that they're going to give us a good deal.
I actually campaigned for Brexit, and I made it very clear in every speech I gave we would be economically worse off. But we would have control.
So when the markets plummet today,
well,
it doesn't
the
matter to you.
markets didn't plummet today.
The pounds
did, and that is different. And at the end of the day, what has happened today, and you said it yourself, Emily, that the Remainers who have sought from the start to sabotage Brexit. And
I didn't use that word. I certainly didn't say sabotage Brexit.
And the ones who've used the process to try and get a second referendum, which they hope will sabotage Brexit, tonight are in more of a retreat than they were yesterday.
It's very interesting, this word, isn't it? You know, retreat and sabotage. Maybe, just maybe, when you hear people saying it doesn't matter if we run out of food, that will be good for us. You know, maybe those are the people that think they have one chance to save the country from going down a really dark alley that we can't get back out of.
In Berlin tonight, or in Paris tonight, they are as worried about no deal as we are.
They didn't sound it just now. They really didn't sound it just now.
By the way, when you go and buy a house, the vendor doesn't say, I'll drop the price, would you like to sell the house?
Ask Fiona then. Fiona, do you think all your politicians in Ireland are lying and that they are going to reopen it and that they're actually just waiting for us to be one day away?
It's a question of negotiation.
Well, you know, when you say
I think there's a lot of frustration at this point with the idea of, I mean, as I say, we're not just talking about reopening a negotiation. We're talking about reopening a negotiation on the basis of a very woolly, opaque, broad statement tonight from the House of Commons. And I think that the message right across the board has been this is not up for renegotiation. And the question is, where does this move now from here? Is Theresa May going to go to Brussels and have essentially another Salzburg where leaders say to her, no, this is not what we agreed, this is not what we signed up to?
I'm with you, because if I was Theresa May, I wouldn't go to Brussels, I'd go to Berlin. Because Germany bosses Europe. The Germans are great people, it's not an anti-German thing to say, but they are the piper and they call the tune. And at the end of the day, they are desperate not to have no deal, just like we should be.
Well, that was the point I put just earlier to the former minister.
We should go to Berlin and say, how are we together going to sort this?
Okay. Can we just deal with a couple of things? One, the idea, I mean, you're basically peddling on the narrative of they need us more than we need them, or they need us just as much as we need them.
Yes,
we're talking about 27 countries and one country, including a country like Germany that has a larger GDP,
we're talking about 3 or 4 countries in one country.
The idea that they will be more hurt by this than us.
I didn't say that.
Well, sorry. And the other thing, regarding what you said about how you said in every single speech that we would be economically worse off if Brexit happened, that is not the narrative that was sent to people in 2016. We were told that we would be better.
Really? So why did £9 million of your and my money called taxes pay for a brochure to everybody's house that said we'll be economically worse off if we have Brexit?
The Leave campaign went around the country on a bus that said there'd be £350 million
You're not
a
answering
week.
the question, are you?
Yes, of course the Remain campaign said it'd be worse off.
Well,
but the Leave campaign,
a brochure from the government told every household
the Leave campaign said we'd be better off. Now, to turn around and tell people across this country who are really struggling,
actually, maybe you do. I mean, you haven't addressed the question about the bus. You haven't addressed the question about the 350 million. Well, you know the question about the bus, which is the amount of money that we were promised was going to the NHS on the side of the bus, just like the number of Turkish people that were going to be flooding into the...
I wasn't part of the official campaign, so I don't see why I'm defending it, but I will answer that one.
Yeah, you're backing off.
No, I will answer. I've never backed off in my life. I will give you that answer, which is that I would tell you within 5 years, probably less, there will be £350 million a week more available to the NHS because we're not paying it to Europe.
Sorry.
Now, it's
No.
a very
No.
convenient
Well, that's not
thing.
what the poster said.
Well,
not
that's
true.
not true. What
That's
did the
not true.
poster say?
A, we don't pay
The poster on the
£350
side of the
million a
bus
week.
said, £350 million, let's spend it on the NHS instead.
Does
It
not,
didn't
so,
say
so,
when.
so does that not give the message that there'll be more money for the UK if we leave the EU?
Okay.
So you've just said that you will be economically worse off, and then we're saying we'll be economically better off.
No.
Those are two
You'll
completely
have
different
no way.
statements.
You'll have more money available, because you don't
what I-
pay it into the EU.
And what I find really offensive is
that
there are
doesn't
people
mean that
across
there
the
won't be
country
short-term.
who
We
are
can't
really
hear you.
struggling.
We can't understand a thing. And I think the question I asked was, have we moved forward tonight? There is your answer.